This is BNN, the Bennington News Network.
Hi, I'm Jeff Grimshaw. We're continuing with our coverage of the PFOA crisis, water crisis here in North Bennington and environs. And we continue with the forum held by the governor here at Bennington College.
Yes. My name is Ray Molyneux. I live at 18 Scary Lane, which is across Parent Creek from the Gilpad boating house. And I have built water. I don't have a well. But the other avenue for ingesting this material is respiratory, and you haven't mentioned that at all. And I have neighbors who also have the water who all have experienced considerable respiratory ingestion over, I lived there while the plant operated 17 years. Others have lived there longer. And since that cloud plume that came from the plant hit all sorts of areas in that mile-and-a-half radius of beyond that, there are a lot of people who have exposure, including people on Bennington College. Back in the late 80s, a group of residents complained about this to the plant management. Ultimately, we had several meetings at the village offices at the railroad station, and I believe that DEC actually performed some, took samples of stack gases and performed some analysis. Unfortunately, I no longer have a report, so I would have thought DEC would have it. And my recollection is that they mostly gave it a clean bill of health, except for one compound that they said was a carcinogen, but in too low a concentration to be dangerous to them. With all the focus on water, which is quite appropriate, I do think that there should be some consideration for what is now a cause that, or a vector that is gone, because the wind's blowing it away. It's all in the ground, soil, and water. But those of us who ingested it, what can we expect?
So that's a great question, and it is one that obviously we're concerned about, both the fact that for a lot of years folks were living with this mission. We don't know what was in it, we don't know what the effects were. All I can assure you is that once we get through phase one here of figuring out who's drinking this stuff, we will go and look at the question of long-term health implications from the many North Bennington and Bennington folks who are living around that plume. And it's unfortunate that leadership didn't listen to them. We can't fix that, but I can assure you that once we get through this phase one and figuring out what water is contaminated, where it came from, and why, we will absolutely look at the question of what does it mean for folks that were breathing this stuff for many, many years. So we will work with you in any way that we can to get to the bottom of that question once we get our team having figured out the water problem. You have my assurance. But it's a huge concern, and unfortunately, as you know, it's not what we can undo. So we've got to figure out what we do from here, and we're going to hold the company responsible for anything that we can prove.
Governor, I have another question. Regarding the responsible parties, it sounds like St. Cobain has stepped up and offered to help, but it also sounds like they've fallen short of raising their hand and saying, we're the responsible party. Are they going to require the state to show that burden of proof? Or is this something that they're going to step up and do the right thing and say, you know, we're at fault in this whole situation?
Too early to tell. What we have done is sent them a day ago, 2 days ago, Friday? Last week. A very clear list of demands that we need to have answers to in order to get through phase one. It's impossible to predict how they'll respond in the future. My goal is going to be to try to have a good working relationship with them, how I go into anything. Go in with the assumption that we all have the best intentions and everybody's going to take responsibility for what they should take responsibility for. But I assure you we'll be using the Attorney General's office and all of the other make sure that justice is brought as much as can be to whoever's responsible for this. So we'll stay on it. Yes?
My name is Donald Campbell, and Governor, I'd like to thank you and your staff and our legislators for an incredibly competent response to this. It's been really wonderful and made me proud to live in this state. I wonder if the PFOA was an unregulated substance 14 years ago. Do we actually know where else it might have been used in our community? Is there a registry of where else besides that one plant it might have landed?
What we know is what people made, what different facilities made. And so we're looking at the products that they made at the time and then trying to extrapolate, okay, well, what would they have used potentially to make the products? So we know PFOA was found in, Teflon is found in some Teflon non-stick type materials, and so we're working backwards. But we don't have records, because it wasn't a regulated chemical, we don't have records saying, oh, PFOA. I mean, this is why the federal law is so broken, the Toxic Substances Control Act, because we should be testing chemicals before they get onto the market. And like we do with the Food and Drug, the Food and Drug Administration does, and the federal law has fallen very short on this point, and so it's the states are just left to look around and say, okay, well, what different industries did we have, and then try to go in and see if there's anything's there, and we're doing that on a parallel track right now. In addition to the response we're doing here is looking at those different industries, and we will go out and do sampling in those areas.
Okay, so it's more than just the tip line then, there are...
Yes, it's more than just a tip line. We have a couple of people, we have 2 or 3 people pulling together a list of the different industries around the state historically, and we're looking at what they made and then going backwards from
Great,
there.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we're going to take one more, and then we've got to wrap up. Go ahead.
We'll take the question, because mine is a helpful comment.
Oh, we'll take your open comment, and then we'll do a question. Go ahead.
For the people who mentioned that they weren't getting all the emails, the North Bennington Library has a copy of everything that was done at the meeting on Friday the 25th, and every meeting, and every email that was sent through, having signed up, through Saturday, the update of tonight. You just go to the desk, you ask for the copy, if you need the copy, you're free to make your own copy to take home or keep it up.
We also have copies right over here with us today of the materials, which we can put out on the table here. We'll also have a sign-in sheet, and maybe we can ask someone at Bennington College to get us that back. I'm looking at some folks have nodded. So if you haven't signed up yet, we'll leave all of that here with us when we go.
Last question? Is there a last question? Yes.
What about people who do not have healthcare providers, and who can they go to, and if there will be service provided?
So,
I know it's complicated.
I'm proud to be the governor who has embraced the Affordable Care Act, and as a result, we have a 3.4% uninsured rate in Vermont, virtually universal coverage. So most Vermonters have a provider. If you don't, I want to know why. Because we're the only state in America that subsidizes above the levels of the Affordable Care Act, and therefore there's no reason for anyone not to be able to afford insurance in the state. I'm proud to say for governors all over this country that are trying to not expand Medicaid, we've done it. We did it for all the right reasons. Vermonters don't have to make poor choices now between going to the doctor when they're sick and feeding their kids, paying their bills. So we happen to live in a compassionate state. The result is that we have literally over 200,000 Vermonters. We only got 625,000. 200,000 Vermonters on some form of Medicaid. So if you don't have a provider, I want to talk to you. Because you should. And it's affordable in Vermont. More affordable than the rest of them. Listen, I want to wrap up by just saying this. We all wish we were not here. I know what's happening in your life. I know you wake up in the middle of the night feeling really anxious, thinking about questions like, is your daughter's new asthma a result of this? Is your child's kidney challenges a result of this? Are the other health problems, whether it's respiratory, as was just mentioned, or whatever, a result of this challenge? There's nothing we can do to undo what has happened. What I do promise is that we will work with you at every level of state government to make the best of a horrid situation. And I ask you, at any point, if you feel that we're not being responsive, that we're not doing what we should be doing, that there's more and better ways to approach this, that you join us in the spirit of civility and common sense that we're lucky pervades this state, and call me, call us, and tell us how we can do better. But this will be at the top of my list of things to help us get done between now and when I return to the beauty of Southern Vermont as a private citizen early next January. So I just want to say to all of you, thank you. We are with you, and we'll do the best we can in a very, very tough circumstance. Thanks so much.
Well, all in all, there were a lot of questions. There were some answers. All the answers? Absolutely not. But this is a developing story, a developing situation. It will be a roller coaster. There will be twists. There will be turns. BNN will be there for all of it. And for BNN, I'm Jeff Grimshaw.
This is BNN, the Bennington News Network.